be a colonel, you know, you think you're a pretty hefty guy, but if you'd ask for all of the guys who were colonels in the Army, he just in Ustra, where he was a command sergeant major, first of all, for the United States Army in Europe, we could have got a whole room full of guys who could say, I'm a colonel, you know, I'm a big guy. But when you ask for the command sergeant major of the United States 7th Army, there was only one person who could answer that, and that was him. And go ahead, we're gonna clap for him a couple of times. And then it came to be that the Army, the entire United States Army, needed a command sergeant major for the entire United States Army. And there was only one of them too. And that was him again. And so he has a brother, James. And if this is not the truth, don't tell him that I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. In the final competition for the command sergeant major of the entire United States Army, there was two people left. One of them was named Gene McKinney, and the other one's name was James McKinney, and they were brothers. And they are from Quincy, Florida. They're the Quincy, is that right? The Monticello. They are from Monticello, Florida. So they are local guys that are from here and did well. And it's not often that you can say, I'm going to go be something and go all the way to being the top person in that field, and nobody can refute it. And I'm not telling you what somebody told me. I was lucky enough to serve with him in the 7th Army, and I was also lucky enough to go up and see how wonderful he was doing as the command sergeant major of the United States Army. He's thinking about joining us. He's going to make a contribution to the athletic department and maybe join us here in the boosters as well. And I wanted you to know that we had that kind of personality in our presence. Let's give him a great big round of applause. You want to let him say something? Yeah. You want to say hi?
He talks about the sergeant major, but, you know, the colonel always in charge. And my understanding, he's always in charge here as well. So I'm delighted to be here. You know, I graduated from Old Lincoln in 1968, went off to the Army and stayed there for about 30 years, and then 15 years up in the Washington, D.C. area. And then my wife and I said, let's go home. She's an alumnus of A&M. She graduated from it. And my son, before he passed, was a student at A&M. So we lost him back in 1996. But I'm delighted to be here and delighted to be able to make my contribution whichever way I can. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate that.
Command Sergeant, I was a specialist 4. Yeah. Command Sergeant Major. I was a Command Specialist 4 Major, yes. You know, I want to ask the Sergeant McKinney a question. When the commanding general left the post, you had to go with him, right? Or did you go with him always? Travel with the commanding general? Yeah. And did you go fly in helicopters? Yes. My brother, oldest brother, was the E9 for the Marine Corps. I'm not sure what that title is, but Sergeant Major. Yeah, he retired after 32 years because he was afraid of the helicopter. He didn't like riding in helicopters. Yeah. 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 He was a born Marine. I told y'all this story one time, but it bears telling again. Back in the days, in the late 50s, of course, y'all know how strong segregation was. And my brother, Bobby, who was known for his temper and willingness to fight, we were on the bus driving into town, which is what we called Orlando. We lived in Washington Shores. And the bus stopped and the white lady got on and the bus driver said, you two boys, we were sitting right behind him. He said, you two boys move in the back. I stood up to move, but Bobby said, sit down. And I said, I was a little more afraid of Bobby than I was the bus driver. Those of you who know him would understand that comment. But for some reason, I don't know what, the bus driver closed the door. She found another seat. He drove us on into town and we got off. I never understand why he didn't call the police, but he didn't. But when I got back to the project that evening and it was on the playground, I told all my boys how I stood up to the bus driver. I kept my seat. I didn't tell him about Bobby Jackson. But I've never forgotten that. My oldest brother was really my hero. He passed away 10 years ago. We got a really special. I wanted, first of all, let me say that Mike Rice is in the house. Would you wave your hand, Coach Rice? You know, Coach Rice thought he was going to greener pastures. Vacation, but he got up to Prairie View and found out that the grass was greener back here. And he's back, and Coach, we're very, very glad to have you back. Thank you. All right. Now, everyone knows that the university won the volleyball championship for the second year in a row. So I'm going to bring Coach back for a special presentation later. But today I just want him to come and say a little bit about how he won the championship. The coach of the volleyball team. I got that. Gokhan. Coach, I'm an old man. I forget them names.
It was much better this time than the previous one, so I appreciate it. Well, I'm very happy to be back here in front of you all and with the championship, second one. Actually, the third one in 2 years. We won the regular season as well this year, which we couldn't do in 2021. Went to the tournament after losing to Alabama State, heartbreaker here at home. So they ended up being the number 1 seed. But we swept the entire competition. So every match we played in the conference tournament was 3-0. That's a very difficult thing to do, honestly. We have the player of the year in the conference is a repeat player. We have the defensive player of the year. We have one lady who was selected as second team all conference, setter of the year, and the newcomer of the year as well. So really big accomplishment, putting 5 kids on that list. And we're graduating 5 this year, but we're bringing in 4 already, and we're hoping to add 3 more. So we'll end up with 7 kids joining us. We play this Friday at University of Florida. They're the number 8 overall seed. It's at 7 o'clock. It's going to be on ESPN. So I encourage everybody to watch, and we're expecting it to be a good fight. And again, thanks for having me. Great food as always. And Coach Rice, thanks for being here. Again, thanks one more time.
Thank you, Coach. Somebody had a question for Coach? Maybe not, Coach. Coach, I coached the volleyball team. Had the same 3-0 record in the tournament. Yeah, Little League in St. Petersburg many years ago. Many of us know what happened to the Florida A&M University Law School. Shut down in 1968 and moved to Florida State University. Well, we have a young lady here today who is writing a book. I think it's about inequities and how they impact HBCUs. Am I close? Something like that. Okay, she's focusing on 3 universities: FAMU, Tennessee State, and Prairie View. And her focus here for Florida, she's here at FAMU because she's doing research on just what happened to the FAMU Law School. I can't wait for that book to come out. It's going to be very interesting. It may have a really resounding impact on how inequities in HBCU education come about. Her name is Janet Lauren. I think she's from New York. And I'm proud to bring her up to just give us a brief presentation, not too short, not too long, about why she's here. Janet Lauren, folks.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here with you. And I have to thank Eddie for his help in setting up so many visits for me. I am a reporter. I'm on my year's leave from Bloomberg News in New York, where I've written about various aspects of higher education finance for almost 15 years. And I've been a daily newspaper reporter for almost 30 years. I'm a little older than I look. Thank you. And I'm on leave to work on a book project at the Columbia School of Journalism. And the person helping me with my project wrote a book about football here that Eddie helped us with when it came out about 10 years ago. And I was in Orlando a few weeks ago visiting the law school on their 20th anniversary celebration. They have several events going on to celebrate that. And I'm here to do research in the archives. I was there all morning. I'll be there for the rest of today and part of tomorrow, just to learn the firsthand primary sources about what happened with the law school's closing and also the reopening. And I'll tell you one story that I found so moving was what happened to the books in the law school. Have you all heard this story? So retired State Senator Joyner told me the story of her last day at the law school when she was getting ready to take her last finals. And the books of the law school were moved to Florida State. And that really just told me so much about what I needed to know. And I called up the Florida State University Library and just wanted to get some more information about when the books were taken in the 60s. And they were telling me about, well, they have a lot more information about when the books were returned, which I didn't. Did you all know the end of this story? They were returned to Orlando gradually. And I was there a few weeks ago to see, it's called the Virgil Hawkins Collection. And it's about 5,000 books, and they were returned to their home at the law school. Of course, it's not really their home, but in the new location in Orlando. So I just found that very moving. It's sort of a beginning, a middle, and an end to the story of the books, which just really tells you so much about the history. And that's a little bit about my project. Eddie got it exactly right, looking at 3 schools. Tennessee State, I was in Nashville a few weeks ago, and my focus there is on the Tiger Bells. You all know Wilma Rudolph, but there were 40 Olympic athletes there. And the current track coach, her name is Chandra Cheeseborough from Jacksonville. She was the last of them to win a gold medal, 2 of them in the '84 Olympics. And I was doing research there, and the legendary coach Ed Temple was always fighting for money for a track. And Coach Cheeseborough is literally fighting the same fight, decades later for a new track. And the story at Prairie View is about oil revenue that the school never got. And what links these 3 schools together is that they were all 1890 Morrill Act land grant colleges. So the other inequity I'm looking at is the agriculture funding. So that's my project, and it's been an honor to meet Eddie, and he's been so helpful. I can't thank him enough, and thank you for having me.
Because Janet was speaking today, her lunch was going to be free, but she insisted on spending. And she asked me what was the cost, and I told her $50. There's the man. I got to talk about perfect timing. Of course, I was just about to tell a story I've told before. I think I'll tell it anyway. If Al Lawson can tell 2 jokes for 10 consecutive years, I can repeat one of my stories. And I know Pat as well. She's heard this, she probably could tell it for me. She's heard it so many times. But when I was director of public relations for FAMU, some students took over the radio station, which is a federal crime. And I got a call from the vice president of student affairs. So I wasn't a vice president at the time. I was director of public relations, but I was a little close to President Humphreys, and we got a lot of things done. You know, some people refer to it as the Jackson Humphreys administration. But I was the president's man for 16 years, and we've done a lot of things. So when I got the call at about 1:30 a.m. in the morning, that the students had taken over the radio station, I forget the vice president of student affairs at the time, but anyway, I turned on the radio and I heard them talking trash. So I told him, I said, I think the president is probably going to want all the vice presidents to meet in the boardroom right away. So I called a few vice presidents and Dr. Framer, that's the name. Y'all remember Dr. Framer? He called a few. Then I called the president. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning now. He said, Eddie, what's going on? And I told him what I had done. He said, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. When he showed up, he opened the door. All the vice presidents and me was in there. He got my attention and asked me to step outside. And I said, yes, sir. Pardon the language, but the president cursed sometimes. He said, Eddie, who's the president of this? Oh, I'm on YouTube? Okay. He said, Eddie, who's the president of this deleted university? And I figured, this probably ain't gonna go right. I said, that would be you, Mr. President. He said, so where you get the nerve, I'll say nerve, they call my vice presidents, tell them to meet in my boardroom. I said, I think I see your point. And then, being the nice guy that he is, he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, now, I probably would have done the same thing, but the next time you let me call my vice president. I said, I'll think about that, Dr. Humphreys. All right, I'm through with that story. I know a lot of us were upset that we didn't go to the playoffs. I don't know how you ignore a 9-game winning streak, but they did it for some reason. But I want Coach to, I know he was hurt because he was hurt primarily for his players and the hard work that they did and winning 9 straight football games. I don't remember that. It's back when I was coaching the Little League football team in St. Pete, we won 9 straight. No, I think we won 10 straight, Coach. But I hope you realize that this is a sign of things to come. We know we got the coach. We know we got players. That 11-0, 12-0 season is coming. All we have to do is keep our minds focused on what we're here for. So I'm pleased to introduce the man who's won 15 straight home games, I think. I won 16 straight, Coach, in St. Pete. The head coach of the Florida A&M University Rattlers, Coach Willie Simmons. Barn has a 7-minute video on the Florida Classic. It's a great film, great production. I know Coach would like to see it as well.
The 2022 Florida Blue Florida Classic was the continuation of 44 years of the biggest rivalry / family reunion in HBCU football.
You know, the first time I got a chance to share with the consortium, so it's been fantastic. It's been a great experience. Now we have to do is take care of the business tomorrow.
Everybody should be ready to come and play CU on this upcoming Saturday, and I think our guys are ready to go.
The teams have been playing for decades more, but the biggest HBCU classic that is solely owned by the two institutions garners nearly $1.5 million for each school. And with over 55,000 in attendance at this year's game, they should hit that mark pretty easy. The Rosen Shingle Creek Hotel was where Bethune-Cookman Wildcats and FAMU Rattlers met on Friday before the game to engage in high-level banter in the annual Florida Blue Florida Classic luncheon in preparation for the game, with state bragging rights as well as years of family integration, as you would be hard-pressed to find a family that does not have both Rattlers and Wildcats in the bloodline. The cheerleaders, presidents, and everyone else took part in getting everyone hyped and ready for the big game at Camping World Stadium on Saturday. With all the preliminaries out of the way, it was time to tee it up. BCU quarterback Jalen Jones throws this pick on the first drive as Javen Morgan runs it deep into BCU territory. FAMU quarterback Jeremy Musa would go up top to wide receiver David Manigault for this first down, followed by this Jalen McLeod run around the left side for the game's first score. FAMU's dark cloud defense would harass Jones all day long. This time, middle linebacker Isaiah Major gets the sack. Anthony Dunn had a career day for the Rattlers. He caught it 3 sacks and 1 additional tackle for loss, as well as recovered this fumble to give the Rattlers the ball in great field position. McLeod will get his second touchdown of the day, carrying the BCU front line into the end zone with him. For the Wildcats, Keyshawn Bird had a productive day. The elusive running back gained big yardage on this run around the right side. To start the second quarter, he would scoot around the right end for BCU's first score. This brought the game score to 13-7 in favor of the Rattlers. Musa would come back and hit Manigault across the middle for another first down. On the next play, Xavier Smith got loose on a post route, and Musa hit him with a dime, leading to the Rattlers taking a 20-7 lead in the second quarter. Smith is from Haines City, Florida, so you know he had to show that Florida salute. After a disappointing performance last week, Jose Romo Martinez nails this extra point without issue. Jones swings this pass out to Bird, who then emulates the Jets' famous butt fumble with this butt tackle. Jalen Jones decides to take matters into his own hands, but mama, there goes that man. Dunn gets his second sack of the game. Jones would then hit Kamari Everett for this smooth one-handed gem. Did I mention that Anthony Dunn was all over Jones? Here he gets yet another sack of the BCU quarterback. Manigault and Xavier Smith find the pockets and wait for Musa to deliver the package as FAMU executes a long drive with grinding down the game clock. You know Willie shotgun Simmons, and they got me on this one. Musa laterals to Xavier Smith, who double passes back to him, and the offensive line caravan escorts him untouched into the end zone. This time it's Kamari Stevens on the sack of Jones. Halftime has a lot going on, so we're just going to give some props to the band director. FAMU's Marching 100 band director, Dr. Shelby Chip, and Bethune-Cookman University Marching Wildcats director, Dr. Donovan Wells. Back to second half action. Bird throws this Madden move to get outside for a big game for the Wildcats. BCU wouldn't go away easily, scoring as Jones hits Davino Ellington on this post pattern up the middle. FAMU wasn't able to capitalize on the next drive, but Tevin Griffey, son of Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr., puts a big hit of his own on BCU's punt return. That hit got the fans hyped, and then the Rattlers were bouncing. You see him, dun, 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 dun. Anthony Dunn lived in the BCU backfield all day. Jalen Jones goes straight Michael Vick, weaving through the Rattlers deep into their territory. To end the third quarter, the Rattler defense stiffened up the middle. Newly appointed FAMU athletic director Tiffany Dawn Sykes was making her rounds at the Florida Blue Florida Classic. we got to mute this part because Coach Simmons simply was not happy. Jones would connect with Everett in the back of the end zone for BCU's final touchdown of the game. The Rattlers would break through and block the extra point. Here we go again with tricking the camera. FAMU punter Chris Fadul, who in high school was a quarterback, flexes his arm, gaining a crucial first down deep in Wildcat territory. Musa would roll out to the right and hit tight end Kobe Gross, who jumps into the end zone. Musa hits David Manigo, who carries Wildcats with him for a few yards, and then Terrell Jennings will make his way to the pylon for the 41-20 fight. Willie Simmons and Terry Sims made their way to midfield while the Rattlers had just begun to celebrate, defeating their arch rival in the 2022 Florida Blue Florida Classic.
He had on the first game last week. Took a lot of criticism, scored 3 interceptions. He really came tonight and played big time football. That's the type of ability he had. So he took his play, he showed that tonight.
Gokhan has won so many in the past, and you guys are kind of rewriting that a little bit. What does that mean for you as a coach?
Keep it around a little bit longer. Games like this, there's no saying that they're ready to go 0-10 and win the classic. They're 10-0 and lose the classic. So we know how important this game is for all of our fans, the alumni. We want somebody to represent those parties first.
Good job, Vaughn. As always, great video. What y'all didn't know was that Eddie was trying to get on the field, and they wouldn't let him on the field, and that's why I was talking to the official about that, because he was trying to get down there, and they kept blocking him. So, but again, it's always great, and it's always an honor to be here. Happy belated Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everyone had a great week and enjoyed some great food and family time. And we have a lot to be thankful for. That's obviously the big takeaway from the holiday, just, be reminded of the blessings that we have. So obviously, like Eddie said, was disappointed after the classic win. We felt good about our chances of being in that large bid to the FCS playoffs, but unfortunately didn't get in, right? And so we as a football team talked about it, and we processed it, but the takeaway, and I told the guys, I don't want or didn't want the snub to diminish what was an amazing football season. The takeaway from this year is far beyond not making the FCS playoffs, right? This team started with one of the roughest beginnings of a season that we've had in our recent history. And after that tumultuous 2 weeks, was able to reel off 9 straight wins and to extend the nation's second longest home win streak to 15 games. And so for those guys to do what they did, not only on the field, but off the field, coming together, penning that letter to address some much needed issues and to create much needed dialogue between themselves and the administration that really uplifted everybody, was really one of my proudest moments as a coach here. And just to see the support from Rattler Nation, to see the support from the administration, to pull together and understand that we're all in this thing together is what I remember the most about this season. And but obviously a lot of things to be to brag about, so to speak. The all-conference team came out yesterday. We were tied with Jackson State for the most all-conference selections with 12. We had 6 guys on the first team. Xavier Smith, wide receiver, Jalen Goss on the offensive line, Isaiah Land and Kamari Stevens on the defensive line, and both specialists, Jose Romo Martinez and Chris Fadul, all being first-team selections. Jeremy Musa, Jamarie Shareed, Cameron Colvin on offensive line, Isaiah Major as a linebacker, and then Javen Morgan and BJ Bowler as defensive backs being second team. And the good thing about that is of those 12 all-conference selections, 8 of those guys have remaining eligibility. So they return next season. So, again, very promising. And so, again, the future looks very bright. You saw in the game on the video, guys like Anthony Dunn. Anthony Dunn's a true freshman. You know, he's an 18-year-old freshman, transferred during training camp from Marshall University. And so he has 3 years left to play. And his ceiling is as high as any player that we've had here, even higher than Marquise Bells. We had an NFL scout came to practice probably the week before the Classic, and just talking about the team moving forward. And, you know, I said, hey, you know, obviously Isaiah Land will be a huge loss. I said, but we had a young guy that we think is going to step in. He said, who, number 90, whatever number he wears in practice. He's like, number 90 something. I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I saw him as soon as I got here, I noticed him. I mean, he stands out. He's 6'5". He's 250-something pounds as a true freshman. And as you saw on film, he's athletic, he's twitchy, and he's got a very, very bright future, you know, if he just continues to grow and mature and develop. So a lot of really good players that didn't play this year or didn't play a lot this year that are returning, along with those 8 returning guys. So Jeremy Musa is coming back for another year as a graduate quarterback. Up front, we really don't lose any offensive linemen off this past year's team. Wide receivers, we only got to, you know, now we lose Xavier Smith, who's a huge loss, obviously, but every other receiver returns, along with a handful of guys that did not play this year because of transfer rules. Defensively, everybody except Isaiah Land, who played a ton for us, returned on the D-line. Both starting linebackers, Isaiah Major and Johnny Chaney, both returned. And then in the secondary, we lost BJ and Courtney at corner, but BJ's little brother Kendall is BJ, but 4 inches taller. Same type of athleticism, but just a taller player. And then even guys like Winston Frazier, 6'3" corner out of Miami, who played a lot this year. So, you know, obviously replacing the specialist is probably the biggest need. As crazy as it sounds, finding a replacement for Chris Fadul, who's been our punter for the last 5 years, and then Jose, who's been our place kicker for the last 2. You know, finding replacements for those guys will probably be the biggest challenge for us in recruiting. It's hard to find specialists. There are a ton of wide receivers. There are a ton of defensive backs out there. There are even offensive and defensive linemen. But to find really sound specialists is a challenge. So, you know, Coach Davis is watching every ounce of film that's out there. He's talking to every coach that's out there. We've already identified some quality young men that we plan to bring in over the next couple of weeks. And we should be able to bring in a kicker and a punter for this coming season. But everywhere else, we'll be as strong as we've ever been at those positions. And so the guys are motivated. That's the one good thing about it. We had the meeting on Sunday when we got back from Orlando. We had a watch party scheduled, but once we knew that we weren't getting in, we just said we'll cancel the watch party and we'll have a team meeting. And we talked about it there. And those guys, the next day, they were in the weight room. They were in the weight room working without even being told to do so. And every day now you go in there, they're in there working. And so I think, or I know they're hungry. Now the challenge is obviously if that hunger can last all the way until next August, next September. But again, the guys are definitely hungry and motivated to finish it. We last really 4 years, really, it's either been one game or it's been something self-inflicted that we're right there at the cusp of achieving our ultimate goal of being conference champs and playing in the Celebration Bowl. And those guys are committed to making sure that we accomplish that goal this coming season. And so great time to be a Rattler, a lot of excitement around the program, a lot of momentum. Going into recruiting, we're getting contacted by a lot of really, really quality student athletes. More guys are jumping into the transfer portal every day. And we're getting hit up by student athletes, by coaches, you name it, trying to get to campus. And so we just got to comb through all of that and figure out which guys to bring, because obviously a lot of them want to come. We just don't have enough scholarships to sign them all. So we just got to be smart as to who we bring in and making sure they fit what we're already doing. But before I obviously open the floor for questions, definitely want to shout out conference champ over there, Coach Gokhan. I'm sure y'all already welcomed him, but really, really great to watch. That picked me up. I was a little down on that Sunday, and to be able to sit there and watch us go sweep Alabama State in the SWAC championship, really made my day. And then to be able to welcome coaching the team back, the next day over at Lawson. The one thing that I will say, Eddie, we gotta, I know this group always supports, but we gotta pass the pot around and get Coach a driver. He's pulling up, driving the bus. When the team showed up, I said, Gokhan driving the bus. I said, now we gotta do better than that now, okay? And have Coach driving his own buses around now. So we're gonna pass the pot around, make sure we can at least get him a driver, or send Dr. Walker down to Panama City next time to get him here safely. But congrats to the coach, and we know obviously they're getting prepared to go down and play the University of Florida in the first round. So we definitely gonna be behind them and hope they can go down there and pull off the upset. And then of course Coach Rice, I'm glad to see Coach back. I was a little worried, my golf swing ain't where it needs to be, and he left before we got a chance to really work together. So I kept calling him every day, like, Coach, I got to work on my golf swing, man. You're down there in Texas, but he decided to come on back just for me to help me with my golf swing. And so glad to have him back. And we know our golf team is going to go and continue to do great things under his leadership. But really great coaches. I'm really excited about the coaches we have here. Great to have a working relationship with these gentlemen and the young ladies that run our programs. Excited about Tiffany coming in the direction that we're headed there. We're currently interviewing individuals for our senior associate athletic director for compliance now, so we should have that position filled here in the next couple of weeks. And so again, the program is really trending in the right direction. And again, we know football is a vital part of that, and we want to just continue to do the little things that we need to do to be successful. And we know that your help truly goes a long way. So Eddie told me to come with kind of a wish list. There will be some things that we will have specific asks for in the off season. There's some equipment needs that we have that will communicate. There's some software that we need that will help us with our evaluations and recruiting, but also our analytics. And so those are some kind of areas that we'll try to address a little bit faster than the equipment needs. Equipment needs can wait. We obviously don't need equipment right now, right? But there are some softwares that we can that are not big ticket items, a few $1,000s that we would like to have that helps us. One, with the transfer portal, it allows us to really go in and truly evaluate these transfers, because anybody can make a highlight film, right? That's the tricky part about recruiting. You can make a highlight film, right? Anybody can pick 10 plays that make you say, ooh, ah, but what some of the software that we're talking about allows us to do is watch every play that they played in the entire season. And so if we're looking at an offensive lineman and we want to see how well he run blocks, then we can just click that player's name. We can click all run plays, and it will show him every single run block that he had this entire season. And it allows Coach Henry to assess how well he comes out of his stance. Can he use his hands? Can he move guys on double teams? Same thing with the defensive back. He can make a great highlight tape of him just knocking people out, but none of his clips show him cover. Well, we can go and say, okay, Vaughn Wilson, all coverages, and see how well he covers. And so just things like that will really help us in our evaluation process, because obviously we want to make sure that we continue to bring quality student athletes, not just on the football field, but in the classroom. And then some of those other ones help out with high school recruiting as well. So I'll get with Eddie on those. I'll get some pricing for those. And if we can address some of those in the short term, that will go a long ways to helping us in recruiting over the next couple of months. And once we get closer to spring practice, which will start the end of February, then we'll come back in and kind of talk about some equipment needs that we might have, to get us through spring ball. The BRZ, the body recovery zone that we utilize. Vinny's already had a conversation with Mr. Boudreau. We would like to continue that. That was very helpful for us this year. And we went from probably 25 or so heat-related type of full body cramps or hospitalizations in 21 to, I think, maybe one this year that I can remember. Guy having a full body cramp. We may have had a couple, maybe had 3 or 4, but that number significantly went down this year as opposed to the year before because of the BRZ. So that was a huge asset to us as a program, being out there in the Florida sun. And obviously we know that it's not going to get any cooler, right? And it'll be just as hot next summer. And so being able to have access to that would be great. And so obviously we'll get with Eddie, see what that looks like for this coming year, and see if we can get ahead of that. But aside from that, definitely, again, looking forward to, answering questions about the game, about, recruiting, moving forward, or any of those type things. And but definitely appreciate everything that you guys have done for us this year. The support was amazing. The classic crowd was great. Luncheon was great for all you guys that had a chance to go to the luncheon. Dr. Robinson gets to show his personality, and it's really bad. I feel bad for the other team. Like this, I walk out of there feeling bad. Like, God, we got to help them. Like the videos, all just it's just God. But but they wrote a big check that I definitely had to cash on the next day. So glad we were able to come out of there with a 21-point win and bring the trophy back to Tallahassee where it deserves to be. And we're gonna make sure we keep it there for the next foreseeable future. So appreciate you guys, and definitely we'll start over here in the back. So years back, this predates my time in the SWAC. This is probably way back in the late 90s. The SWAC waived their automatic bid to the playoffs because of not just the Bayou Classic. That's the big one, but the Turkey Day Classic is played. Alabama State plays on Thanksgiving weekend every year, or Thanksgiving Day. They've been playing that game for a long time. You got the Bayou Classic. So there are probably 2 or 3 games on the SWAC slate that they moved to that last weekend. And, of course, you all remember we used to play the Classic on that weekend. I think Billy Joe was the one that came in and kind of was like, hey, look, we're costing ourselves a chance to go to the playoffs because we're playing this game on Thanksgiving weekend. So the game was moved up a week so that the MEAC schedule ended that weekend, right? So the SWAC hadn't participated. We were the first SWAC team in 20-something years to go to the playoffs. The last SWAC team was, I think, 98. And after that, they decided to play the Bayou Classic that weekend and some other games. So because of the scheduling, and again, just understanding the SWAC and really the MEAC, the end game is for these two conferences is not the playoffs. The end game for the SWAC and the MEAC is the Celebration Bowl. And because of that, that's where all of our attention goes. We were just in a unique situation the past 2 years because we were not going to win the SWAC, but we had a resume that was deserving of an at-large bid. That hadn't happened often in the SWAC, right? And so because of how well we played on the field, we felt that we were deserving to go. But the main goal for the SWAC MEAC teams is the Celebration Bowl, not the FCS playoffs. Yeah, well, and well, unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, you lose homecoming class the same year, boy. It's tough. Now the one thing about and Terry's a friend of mine, right? Terry and I, known each other for a long time. I have the utmost respect for Coach Sims. They've gone through a lot within that program over the last really 3 years. 2020, obviously, we all experienced COVID, right? Thankfully, we had university leadership that we all agreed to take a pay cut. So the athletic department, everybody in the department took a 7% pay cut for that year. At that school, they furloughed coaches, which means they didn't work. Like they took obviously months off their salary. So they didn't have spring ball that year. We did. They didn't get to go through the spring. Their players were not around on campus for much of COVID. We were able to get ours back at some point. So they had COVID in 20. 21 came. They had, I can't remember which storm it was, but it was something that caused them to have to be off site for an extended period of time. And then this year, they got hit with 2 storms almost in back-to-back weeks. They were displaced from campus for over 3 weeks. So they stayed in, I think, Mississippi, Tennessee. Like they were off site, like off campus for 3 full weeks. And you imagine you're traveling 100 or so guys, support staff, academic staff, everything, trying to keep it together for those 3 weeks. And that's tough, right? And they lost. I mean, they were 2-9, but you look at their schedule, they were a couple of ball bounces away from being 7-5 or 7-4 or 6-5 or something like that. So it's always unfortunate when a coach, especially one that you're close to. And this year I had 2 guys that I know personally, Doc Gamble at Pine Bluff. Doc and I worked together at Alcorn my first year in 2012. And he was relieved midway through the season. And then obviously Terry yesterday. So when I got the text from him saying that he had got let go, I mean, it was it was tough for me. Because again, it's that's the part of the business that I don't like. But it's a part of the business, right? And so he'll be fine. I just it's to make that decision to miss all the stuff that they kind of went through. I think it's tough to expect the coach to kind of hold it together through all the stuff that they had to go through. Now, Wildcat Nation is right up there with Rattler Nation today. You gotta get it done, right? So even everything we went through at the beginning of the season, it's something like, oh, we don't care. Like that Miami game was bad. We don't care what y'all went through. And that's just the nature of it, right? And so we get it, but it is obviously very tough whenever a coach, because it's not just him, right? It's every coach on that staff. They're not looking for a job. It's maybe some of their support staff that he brought in or that was with him that's potentially going to be looking for a job. And, that's a lot of families affected by those decisions. So it's never easy. And sometimes, we don't look at it from that perspective. And it's just a raw reality that I tell people all the time, coaches are really the only ones on university campuses that we get fired. Like other people get reassigned. We get fired. and we're gone, right? You know, a couple financial aid checks get bounced. That financial aid person gonna be working in housing the next year. You know, we lose a few games, don't be looking for a job. You know what I mean? That's the difference. But yeah, so it's you know, within the profession, it's never good to see your buddies get terminated. But we definitely understand that's a part of the business, unfortunately. So y'all wouldn't be mad if I hired them here, would you? Well, we got some Wildcats on the staff now. You loyal to who pay you. I learned that a long time ago. You are loyal to who signs your check. So, oh yeah, trust me. He come here, he gonna want to beat him like a drum. That's right. Hey, nobody wants to beat Alabama A&M more than Coach Spady. Coach Spady was gonna coach that game blind if he had to. He didn't care. No sight. He was in the building. So, Coach, we got to see with your son the other night, watching some football. So that was good.
When you posted something about, well, you didn't post it, but, you know, one of your comments was, it was a slap in the face about not going to the playoff thing. And some negative feedback was on there about, well, why would it be a slap in his face more because two of the bad teams that they played, he barely won against that. It shouldn't have been a slap in his face. And I'm just wondering, is it the point that keep you from going into the playoff, or what would they be talking about as far as you just barely won against a bad team?
So to answer that, obviously the selection committee is a very subjective thing, right? There's no criteria that they say you have to check these boxes to go, right? It's a group of people sitting around a room saying, here are the teams that deserve to go to the playoffs. So the problem with that, because it's subjective, you can move the barometer however you choose to move it, right? So they say, okay, strength of schedule. You play the Division II team, right? So that you get penalized for playing a Division II team. Well, there are teams in the playoff field that play Division II teams, right? They say, oh, y'all had a bad loss against Jackson, who's number 5 in the country, by the way, but you had a bad loss. Well, there are teams in the playoff field who had bad losses the last weekend, right? There are teams that got blown out the last weekend of the season that made the playoffs. Oh, well, you won some close games against teams that had subpar records. That's every team in the field has those. Nobody blew out everybody. So again, it's when it's subjective, that's just what you run the risk of. That it's a choice of which teams, and I think the most telling thing, and I don't know the individual, Mr. Tro, I think that's how you say his name, last name, the chairman of the selection committee, because Jay Walker asked the question about the criteria, what it takes, and talked about inclusion. Because when you look at the playoff field, there are 24 teams, there are 11 conferences that get automatic bids. Of the 14 FCS conferences, I think 11 of them, the champion automatically goes. So you're talking about 14 conferences, well, maybe 12 eligible conferences for FCS playoffs. 10 of the teams of the 24 man field came from 2 conferences. Almost half the field came from 2 conferences. So 2 of the teams in the playoff field finished middle of the pack in their conference. So there's a 12-team conference, they finished 6th. There's a 13-team conference, a team finished 6th but they got into the playoffs with 4 losses in conference, some bad losses. And so again, it's like people ask me all the time, what could we have done more? Nothing. Like, we're not going to go and change our scheduling model, right? I like playing at Albany State. I like playing Fort Valley State. Y'all like us playing those teams. It's good for us. It's good for them. So for us to change our entire model to try to play their game to get into the playoffs when really the goal is the Celebration Bowl, I think we're barking up the wrong tree. And so I think that's a conversation that needs to be had with Tiffany when she gets here, obviously with our administration, what's our end game? If our end game is to go win an FCS championship like we did in '78, then we need to get out of the SWAC. And we need to go to a conference like A&T's done, like Hampton's done, and go compete, or like Tennessee State has done for years and years, and go play their game. If our goal is to go win the Celebration Bowl, then let's do that as members of the SWAC. And so I wasn't gonna lose sleep over being snubbed by somebody who doesn't appreciate what we do. Because at the end of the day, a close win is a win. At the end of the day, it's a win. It's hard to win football games. And we won more than anybody. So, you know, if we were the team that just kind of came out of the blue and won a bunch of games this year, they can be like, oh, well, that was just a fluke. If you look at what we've done the last 4 years, we're one of the most consistent teams in America. So if we weren't deserving, nobody was. And I don't care what anybody says about that. So I'm not going to worry myself over what a bunch of people that don't appreciate our quality. We no coaches don't apply to jobs. No, we don't. Well, I can't answer that because we don't make the list, but no, coaches don't apply to jobs. No, the way it works at this level is if they want us, they reach out to us. We don't apply to jobs. I've never job hunted a day in my life. I don't go looking for jobs. Right. I got a good job here, and so again, but no, coaches don't. That's not the way it works. Right. Deion Sanders is not applying to 3 schools. 3 schools have reached out to him and offered him jobs. Whether he takes it or not, that's up to him. But like I said 2 weeks ago, a week ago today, I don't have a job offer. So I'm standing here with a FAMU fleece on because I'm the head coach at Florida A&M. And until that changes, until somebody gives me an option to not be, but that's not even the case right now. So yes, it's only a rumor. I mean, my name we're doing well. So my name probably will continue to circulate. I'm relatively young, been successful. So every year they're going to be 25 coaches, 40 coaches. Here are the next coaches that should be getting looks to move up. My name's probably going to stay on those lists because of what we've done on the field. Whether that means that somebody's going to offer me a job, that I don't know the answer to that. But no, those are just rumors at this point. So yeah. No. Checkbook ain't big enough, first of all. No, they won't. No, she'll say she's gonna open up her checkbook and match it. That's what she said. No, we thankfully FAMU has positioned itself to make it competitive. So you can rest assured that there ain't another HBCU that's gonna break the bank to try to pull me away. It would hurt them to try to do that. They won't. They're cut their nose, spite their face now. Now, Ashley Jackson he'll call me. Once Deion finally says he's got it, he's gonna call me just because of our relationship. But yeah, they ain't. Yeah, I'm home. So. Well, yeah, that's it. If it stops circulating, that means y'all probably gonna be trying to get rid of me at that point. So, yeah, long as it keeps showing up, that means we're doing pretty well. In their exactly, and in their conference, right? Yeah.
My question is, have we decided on the next
Yeah, well, for next year, or for next year's game, we're playing Jackson down there. Yeah, so this is the last year of that. We'll play them again, and then we'll change opponents after that. Yeah, but we'll open up in Miami again with Jackson. Yeah.
I was struck by your statement that no HBCU is playing in the FCS playoff.
No.
Not one.
Mm-mm.
And this speaks to the so-called objectivity that you talked about that HBCUs have been dealing with for years. What do you recommend that we do to change that?
Take our ball and go home. But no, I mean, it did. So again, and I thought it was a very great question by Jay that was asked during the selection committee. He said, "Well, what's the committee's position on inclusion?" Right. I know a lot of you all are retired, so it doesn't apply. But in today's workforce, every company, whether it's university, whether it's a Fortune 500, whether the words that you hear anybody talk about what they're trying to improve on, they're going to say diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI. He asked him specifically your position on inclusion because 10 teams from 2 conferences got into the playoffs. That's not inclusion. When you can monopolize the field that way, he said, our goal is not inclusion. That was his answer. Our goal is not to be inclusive of other teams. So which is basically saying, SWAC, we don't care. MEAC, we don't care. We're not interested in saying just to get an HBCU in, we're going to get one in. That's not their goal. And so again, that's what I said. The question is, what do we need to try to do something differently to try to be a part of it? No, I think we need to figure out what our end game, our mission is as a program and go towards that, right? And for us, it's to win the Classic next year, be 1-0 coming out of Miami, and make it to where everybody's chasing us as opposed to the other way around the last couple of years. So again, our goal is to win the Celebration Bowl, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And and until the structure of the FCS playoffs is changed, I think we'll be fighting that uphill battle every single year. Ed?
I want to give a shout out to the FAMU boosters. They've already committed to $1,500,000 for the new cooler. $1,500,000.
That's a lot of money. That's $150,000 if we add them together, right? $1,500,000, $15,000. For nutrition, yeah.
I wanted to mention that because everything we do here, we work so closely with the group.
Right.
And we encourage all our members also to become members of the group. So for these new goals we have for the coming year, I just want to point out to Colonel and Joe and Selvin would be playing critical roles in that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, of course, our booster club has been great as well, and a lot of times we kind of lump the two groups in, but again, it's definitely noted that the booster club has been committed, and we encourage more people to join, right? And we need as many boosters as we can, to continue to just move this program forward, not just football, but our entire athletics department forward. Again, we can't have our championship winning coach driving his own bus, right? So that's going to be on the booster initiative this year to make sure we get him a driver. So.
We go play our own national championship. I like that concept. How we gonna get it work? I don't know what you believe in, but I like that concept. When somebody there's an interview or something, I heard that.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. The SWAC and the MEAC aren't envious of the FCS playoffs. They're envious of us because 24 teams are probably going to lose money going to the playoffs. Whoever wins this weekend between Jackson and Southern and North Carolina Central are going to walk away with about $2 million in their pockets to go back into their program because of the Celebration Bowl. And so we are the only FCS programs that play in a bowl game, the only ones. Everybody else plays in the playoffs, right? Bowls are independent of the NCAA. And so that's why we're able to keep the money. If we had hosted a playoff game last week, 85% of our gate revenue would have gone to the NCAA. everybody who hosts, 85% goes to NCAA. And that's how they cover the cost of the traveling teams and all the other kind of stuff. The bowls, 0% goes to NCAA, 100% goes to the conference. And the conference decides how they want to distribute that money within it. And so the concept that I said was, okay, if you took the two champions, the MEAC champion, the SWAC champion, and then say you took the next two best teams and you created a semifinal game like the FBS has, say you played that game in Houston, Charlotte, Miami, wherever, in a bowl game setting, that's revenue to the conference. And then the two winners play in the Celebration Bowl, which would be the true championship, right? I think that would be a probably decent concept. So again, but like I said, if we find a way, because I just believe that our brands are so much stronger than the FCS brands. And right, you add the bands to it, but you look at attendance, you look at viewership, way more people are going to watch the Celebration Bowl that will watch the FCS National Championship game. Way more people, right? So if you put this week, well, in 2 weeks, if FAMU was going to play, well, now they opted out because they're in the big South. But if FAMU was going to play Howard, right, because they're the second place team in the MEAC, and or actually it'd probably be Central, but whatever. But say FAMU would be, because they won, so Central and Jackson, say Jackson wins, they would play, so whatever. However we worked it out, we're playing Central, Jackson's playing Howard, right, in the semis. Big games, right? All y'all would be in Houston or Charlotte or wherever. And then 2 weeks later, we line up in Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. I mean, that would be a big deal, right? And so again, I think it's definitely something to talk about. But that's not my conversation. That's the ADs, that's the presidents and chancellors, that's the commissioners deciding to work through that. It took a lot to get to the Celebration Bowl.
The highest attended game in the FCS playoff this past weekend was
Montana, I think 13,000.
13,000. Bayou Classic, 65,000+. Florida Classic, 55,000+.
Magic City is 68,000. I mean, yeah, Magic City always they part of that. I don't know what they do with their Magic City, but
that's why the FCS community is
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people. A lot of people go to Birmingham. Yes, sir. Well, so again, we're the home team, and the schedule had it, but again, I think with the contract and how it works, I think it's going to be in Miami. It's not official, but I think right now it's looking like it's going to be in Miami again. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Rashawn is done. So Jeremy's returning. Who's that? Well, we'll find out in a couple of weeks when the grades come out if Junior's taking care of his business. But we anticipate Junior being back. You got Jacory. Right now we have Cameron and Trey Fisher. So right now we have 5, with Jeremy returning as the incumbent, obviously, and we're going to sign at least one and bring it in this class. So depending on what happens between now and next spring, we'll sign 1, possibly 2. Yeah, but we'll be. Hey. Yeah, so I feel really good about our summer school plan moving forward. I think we're going to be in good shape with the tuition part of it, at least, right? And I think we'll be able to cover the meals. The problem this past summer was the meals, but I think I feel confident that we'll be in good shape. I'll know more in the coming weeks, and once Tiffany gets on campus and we're able to kind of sit down and have that conversation. But I feel good that we'll be. Well, again, if that becomes something that we need to obviously raise for, we'll talk about it. But I feel good that we'll be in good shape this coming summer.
Coach, very active online, but Mrs. Simmons said the 1978 club. We need to mention the 1978.
Yes. Tell her to change the locks back. The 19, so of course we started. My wife and I started the 1978 club last year, and those funds go directly towards summer tuition and meals. And so it's a QR code. I'll send it to Eddie. That means the little thing that you hold your phone up to and take a picture of it, and it sends you to a website. It's going to send you directly to the link to, and all we're asking is that you give $19.78 a month to summer school, right? So it's less than $20 a month. But again, if enough people obviously commit to that, then it goes a long way. So, but yes, that's up and running, and has been for about a year now. Yes, 1978. Miss Jerry put it up. She'll make sure everybody's got it. And so yes, I'll send to make sure I send it to Selvin as well. So, but yes, that'll definitely help out as well. It's but less than, it's $19.78. Okay, well that's the minimum we're asking. So now, and we picked 1978. That's a national championship year. Now there'll be an option for $19.78. There'll be an option for $1,978. You can make that number work any way you want to. But I mean, if you can give $20 a month, you can get whatever you feel confident. There's a way to do a one-time, give where you don't have to. It doesn't have to be deducted monthly, and but however you choose to do it, But yes, once you get to the website, it'll prompt you to how to do it. So, but that'll definitely go a long way. Yes. So we'll definitely set dates for the strike tour. We want to try to start them a little earlier this year, maybe do some in the spring and then the summer as well. Of course, Miss Carmen back in the back, she'll be pivotal in that as well. So, but yes, strike tour is definitely something that we want to get back going. Well, we can get it scheduled. Hey, let's do it. I don't mind where we go. I go to Timbuktu if they're gonna give us some money. Any other questions? All right. Well,
all right. Before we bring Mr. Jackson back up, Colonel, could you hit them lights one more time? And Carmen put me up to this. It always be Carmen putting me up to stuff, doing stuff we ain't supposed to be doing. It's not only when it's sleep. Okay. I got it. Okay. It's coming on. Yes, it's coming on. It's coming on. This is a very short. No, open it up. Yeah, it's coming on. Okay. All right, here we go.
You all, and it's just great. He helped me get through FAMU, helped my children get through FAMU. So thank you for honoring him. Commissioner Burns is going to be what he wanted us to say to you.
To be honored by our alma mater is one of the greatest honors one can receive. After my family, FAMU has been the wind beneath my wings. During my 40 years as an employee, I never felt like I was going to work. FAMU became my home away from home. Many thanks to President Robinson and his fine staff for this honor. Eddie Jackson, thank you.
All right. We want to thank Carmen for capturing that presentation. Mr. Jackson did not make it down to the Classic, but it was accepted on his behalf, and his speech was written for him. So, Mr. Jackson, congratulations again.
Selvin?
Yes, sir.
Microphone.
Congratulations, Mr. Jackson. Well deserved honor. Okay. The booster news today is we just want to thank you all for all the support that you've given us for our past football season. But this is just the beginning, because also football and volleyball. But now we got basketball, men and women's basketball, we got softball, we got track. So the booster membership office is not closed. If you're interested, please see me or my membership chair, Melody Hadley, or any other booster that's in here. Or you can go to FAMURattlerboosters.com and you could join on the internet. So please, I beg you, become a part of the Rattler Boosters, because Rattler Boosters is the only direct support organization that's set up for the university for athletics. Coach was just here talking about summer school. In the state of Florida, not one red cent is given to athletics. Everything that we spend in athletics has to come from ticket sales and donations, and what we could sell via corporate sponsorships and things like that. So it's critical. Coach didn't say it, but there are a lot of openings out there. And when you're as successful as FAMU football has been in the last 4 years, you're going to have people coming, not only looking for him, but they're going to be looking for his assistant coaches. Let me take you back to the beginning of last year. Coach lost 3 assistant coaches last year. One of our assistant coaches wasn't hired until a week before football season. And then when you lose Coach Spady in the first game of the season, you got 4 brand new coaches who've never coached Rattler football before. So there's a critical need for you to support. And, you know I'm preaching to the choir because everybody in here supports FAMU. But what we need to do is to broaden that net and everybody go out and reach one and have that one reach one, and so that we could be the program that we want to be. I thank you for everything that you've done. If you've ordered a polo shirt from us, they're back. Melody was here earlier. I think she covered everybody, but if you know you ordered one and haven't gotten it, let me know and I'll make sure you get one. Now I'm gonna take my booster cap off and put my 100 Black Man cap on. Wilbur got some pecans. We're in our pecan scholarship sale with the 100 Black Men of Tallahassee. See me or see Wilbur if you want to purchase something from us. Thanks again.
Yes, Ron.
I'm gonna also send Miss Jerry a link. Daryl Jones, who just got reelected to the Leon County School Board, has an initiative where he wants every 5th grader in his district, District 3, which is a lot of Title I schools. He wants every 5th grader to go see Wakanda Forever. And the school board has allowed him to set up a website. I think they need about $5,000, and so they're actually looking for a lot of people to do small donations. I'll send that link, because what they're going to do at the movies, the 5th graders are not only going to go see the movie, but they're going to have scientists from FAMU and FSU there to kind of bring it home to the kids of what they're actually seeing in the movie and what they can actually do, because there is a lot of STEM in Wakanda Forever. So I thought it was a great initiative by Daryl Jones, who we know loves those kids. And they're trying to take all the 5th graders to go see Wakanda Forever at the Challenger Learning Center. And so I'll send a link to Miss Jerry if you all decide to help the kids in District 3.
Thank you, Brian. The end of the year is coming, and those of you who got big bucks you want to put in the foundation for tax benefits, I want you to think about the new cooling center. We're gonna rent the cooling center again. We have $1,500, and the total is $15,000, but I'm sure we'll be there. Roland Gain gave $3,000 last year, and I know he'll give $6,000 this year. Yeah. I want everyone to think about pledging and giving before the end of the year $100 for the cooling center or nutrition. Take your choice. Someone who gives, I'm gonna give away another television set. Past winners are not eligible, but Roy Moore is still expected to give. So at the end of our last meeting for December, I'm gonna give out a new 42-inch color television set for those who bring in the most funds. But I want you to pledge at least $100 that you give to these two considerations: coolant center, tuition, nutrition, for the end of the year, and get a tax write-off. Yes. That's a good point. Yeah. And I'm always on top of my game so I can tell you directly. However, I can't remember right now. Oh, Cooling Center is 2148, account number 2148. Cooling Center Nutrition. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Cooling Center Nutrition is 2148. Yeah. Now, this is the last we're going to see of Coach Simmons for a while, people. We're going to have the baseball coach. We're going to have the basketball coach. We're going to have the volleyball coach. We're going to still meet every week except for certain holidays. We'll meet, is it December 1st on a Wednesday? I mean, December 7th is a Wednesday. That's what I meant to say, yeah. So we'll meet the 7th, we'll meet the 14th. My wife is telling me the 21st is out. But I may have to put my foot down. We may, the 21st may be out, people. Yes, Tommy.
On the 21st, the basketball team is playing Kentucky in Lexington, and they're going to honor Clement Johnson. Some of us are going up. We're trying to see if there's a bus available. Anybody interested, let me know. But Willie Johnson and I, we're going to drive up, but we're trying to get a bus to go to that particular game. They're going to play in Louisville as well, but in Kentucky, as they're doing now with HBCUs like they did with the University of North Carolina game, they're honoring Clement Johnson. That's a Wednesday, 21st.
Okay, we also going to need some funds for the 220 quarterback club. We're going to have to plan to give the baseball coach $500, the basketball coach $500, both basketball coaches. So if any of you can help with that, that would be good as well. You can always pay a little more than $20 if you want to contribute to one of those fields: basketball coach, baseball coach, etc. Anybody got any comments? The floor is open for any comments at all, recommendations. Remember, we'll be here same time next week. Don't be late. Follow my lead, please. Come on time.